Can you tell us a bit about Limden Brook?
We're an organic farm. We're about 450 acres of of grassland. It's all permanent pasture. Some of it's floodplain. We run a herd of suckler cows. We've currently got 55 suckler cows, and we are finishing all of our followers and selling them to butchers, and a little bit for our freezer at home.
Yep. And what do you love about your job?
Oh, I love being outside most of the time, really. I like observing the cows and what's going on in nature. I like the farming networks and the farming people that we get to meet. I'm the fifth generation. So James Newington took the tenancy on here about 220 years ago.
You've been one of the sort of early mob graziers in this area.
It's called many different things, and everybody's doing it slightly differently. So generally, what we're aiming for is longer rest periods, and but when it's dry like it currently is, then we're moving them really slowly.
So you're getting it's down a much further as opposed to sort of like leaving quite a lot of residue to trample in.
But that's extending our rotation. They'll now be rotating around in 120 or 130 days, and then we'll start moving them faster, and then that increases their nutrition that they're getting. So at the moment, their nutrition will be a little bit restricted, but then in those growing periods, we can then put more weight on, put more weight on the calves, and put more condition back on the cows.
And you're managing to kind of outwinter mostly. I think you bring them in for a couple of months a year on the wettest months.
Yeah, some cows we do keep some store cattle out. Kept a group of 23 out all winter this year, and the bulls they stay out all the time. But the cows and calves, we've used bale grazing to extend.
Yep.
So we used to house stuff at about the beginning of November, weather dependent. But we're not housing them until middle of January, and then we're sort of aiming to turn out on the 1st of March or thereabouts, depending on how much regrowth we get.
Okay. Changed a moment or something that changed your way of thinking about farming?
But until we met a couple of local farmers from Sandhurst, we were having a few years at that point with quite prolonged droughts.
Yeah.
And they were the only people with grass still.
Okay.
But they also had more livestock as well than everybody else.
Yeah.
And then going to those early groundswells, I didn't go to the very first one, but it might have been the second or third one or something like that. And they're very small, and the information was just amazing. Now, when I go now, you gain a few things, but those first two times it was
really illuminating.
My mind was completely blown.
How would you describe your farming philosophy or approach to farming?
I guess it's developed into mimicking nature based, mimicking nature, observing nature. Is it good? Is it the best we can do for our livestock? Are we providing everything that they need? The right mineral levels? Are they getting enough browse? Are they getting enough shade? Are we feeding them enough all the time? And that all then ties in with how they're interacting with the ecosystem, and how the dung beetles and the birds that are following them. That's sort of how it all fits together.
How does your approach differ to, I guess, like intensive or conventional livestock farming, would you say?
Essentially, I don't think it does differ that much. There's only very small differences, and the main small difference is, I guess you could say the main difference in local terms.
How would you say your beef differs from, say, supermarket beef on the shelf?
It's slaughtered in a nice place. The butchers will look after the meat, and they will respect it, and they will actually spend time cutting it up and hanging it for a bit instead of wet aging it. Those things, I would say, are the biggest differences. Being grass fed, sometimes, particularly when the grass isn't growing, we have less of a fat cover on it. The taste of the fat is definitely different, so we do tend to get more yellowing in our fat, and I can definitely taste the difference between grass-fed and the grain-fed fat. and that white fat doesn't taste as good.
Do you think from a health perspective there would be like a difference?
People have done studies and they think that there's higher omega. But it would be interesting if we looked at ours. But, I mean, if you've got healthier cows, it would make sense that the meat was healthy. The less factory farming and the less chemicals that are going on the cows and the less chemicals going on the land, it's probably going to be healthier.
Yeah.
The amount of woodland we've got, also the amount of rolling hills. Limden Valley in particular versus the Rother Valley. The Limden Valley's got loads of little hills all in different directions.
You say, have you noticed like a change in the climate or
the climate's not a static thing and never has been. So the climate is constantly changing. It's definitely warmer than it used to be, particularly in the winter. I think that's when we see the most noticeable warmth. You know, grass is growing, because grass is growing a lot longer. We've had less dry periods in the last 3 years than we did the 3 years before that. We were having real dry summers. So variable. We don't really understand how the climate works or how much it's governed by the sun or solar radiation. It is super complicated, which is why having a farming system which is flexible and allows you to adapt to stuff, like building up a wedge of grass or defer grazing in front of them, you know, and if you don't use it, you've still got it when you come to winter. But you know, if you do need it on a year like this year, then it comes in very useful.
Does it make financial sense for you guys?
We're lower, it's definitely a lot lower input, so we're buying in a lot less things externally from the farm, but we do more labour. But I guess it depends whether you prefer being on a tractor or being out there with the livestock.
And so what are your essential bits of kit on the farm?
We've got a quad bike and we have a teleporter as well. But, you know, we do a little bit of hedge laying.
So that leads me on to grant funding. I mean, that's something you guys are doing here a little bit? You apply for local grants or...
Yes. You know, we've had countryside stewardship grants. The FiPL funding included infrastructure for rotational grazing, was quite a lot of it. The FiPL grant also paid for some of our conservation hedge laying, these are the things which, I mean, the hedge laying is definitely very good for the environment, and the fencing infrastructure is hopefully making us more resilient.
And have you noticed a difference in your soils?
Soil organic matter test showed an improvement of 1% over 5 years, but you know, it's not a super accurate test. We definitely are not getting more compaction from our outwintering. Whether we're growing more grass is very difficult to say because it's very variable each year as well. So it's I guess if I counted the bales off a specific field that we cut and bale grazed every year and did that over a 10-year period,
might give you a trend or something. Have you noticed like any changes in terms of biodiversity, bird life, that sort of thing, like insect life?
Yes, as a layperson there seems to be loads more around, and we've got a guy who does a few bird counts and with the numbers that he finds.
Brilliant.
We have terrific years and then something will have a terrible year.
I think farm diversification is kind of essential on most farms today. I mean, do you guys have any farm diversification?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, I guess our diversification was direct selling.
Yeah.
In our farming business, we don't have any diversification ourselves. If the beef price goes down a lot, then we're obviously very vulnerable to that.
Right.
Whereas diversification takes a little bit of that risk out of the business.
Yeah. Whether
that be diversifying into chickens even, or diversifying into shepherd's huts or something like that.
Yeah.
So we might be better off going, well, let's give up half the land and we'll borrow some money and put in 10 shepherd's huts and we'll do that and half the amount of farming.
Yeah.
Will we be better off in the long run? But, you know, then if food prices skyrocket and no one wants to go on holiday anyway because they're spending all their money on food,
you might be worse off. Yeah, exactly. Do you have any advice for, you know, like new start farmers, you know, first generation farmers sort of starting out, like wanting to, you know, give farming a go, get into farming?
Yeah, go and see as many farms as you can.
Yeah.
Talk to the farmers. Don't be afraid to ask them how profitable their system is and whether you can see, whether you can see their finances. Does it actually stack up?
Yeah.
It's absolutely key. They need to. It's no good going to look at a farm and it turns out they've got 10 properties they let out and
Sure.
they're losing money through that agriculture. It doesn't matter how good it looks.
Yeah.
Is it actually making money?
Yeah.
And as a new entrant, that's absolutely key.
Yeah.
So, and people who are having people around and having younger people around, you've got to show them everything and you've got to tell them everything.
Yeah.
So that.
And do you think, are there opportunities, like for example in the high Weald here, do you think someone starting from scratch could start grazing some fields, get a...
Yeah, I think there's definitely opportunity. There's definitely land. There's definitely land around that people don't know what to do with.
And what are the kind of key...
The price of livestock is
high at the moment, isn't it?
Prohibitive, a little bit for people, and the cost of borrowing's high as well, isn't it? So I think there's definitely opportunity. There's definitely land. There's definitely land around that people don't know what to do with.
What would you suggest to that landowner to do with their land to get it into good shape that would be useful for a local farmer or grazier? Or
I'd recommend that they find someone who's keen and locally who might put livestock on it and find out what they need to fit their system. They've got to work together.
Chat.
They've got to work together, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's, without that.
Yeah. And what's are you feeling optimistic about the future of farming? What's your, have you got any, this is what the government should be doing, this is what, farmers need to be doing? What are your kind of thoughts on the current farming and food system?
I think it's become over-regulated, probably. Not necessarily, some of the regulation is there for a very good reason and we need it. Some of it is completely pointless. I think we probably need to roll it back. And within rolling it back, we're going to find that we get rid of some stuff that actually we did really need, and then we're going to have to put it back in place.
Mm-hmm.
But I think rolling that back so that there is less regulation on farmers and, say, small abattoirs as an extension. So I guess less government involvement. That's probably the best thing they could do.
Yeah.
Tricky one.
There's only one remaining abattoir in Sussex left, and we're in a predominantly livestock rearing area.
Yeah, and the problem with if the abattoir's gone, then the only people to sell to are the supermarkets, which is historically not good for the people or the producers. I mean, it's good for the people to access cheap food.
Yeah.
It's definitely not good for the producers. And as a whole, it's not good for the people because the supermarkets end up gaining more and more money and influence and market share. And the more market share they've got, the more control they've got over prices of everything.
Do you watch Clarkson's Farm?
I think it's great to sort of showcase a bit of what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
I think sometimes he's setting himself up for a bit of a failure on purpose. If that was my farm and all of my income was coming out of it, but it's really entertaining. I recommend it for farmers and general public alike.
Yeah. Are there any books or other films or
Rachel's Farm on the BBC is excellent. I mean, it's just a great story. He clearly is struggling at it herself.
And any other are there any other UK films that
there is 6 Inches of Soil.
That's it.
That's quite a good film for the general public
to watch.
Particularly, bit that was interesting to me was the market garden lady and how difficult it is to grow vegetables.
Yeah.
And then to actually make money out of growing vegetables at a small scale.
Yeah.
I would. Now, what's that Dr. Montgomery book? Erosion of Civilization.
Okay.
Is probably one of the best books I've read about farming systems, and that's about the history of farming.
Yeah.
From the invention of the plough and all of the civilizations which have collapsed because of overworking or depleting their soils, which is fascinating. Fall of the Roman Empire, a lot of China, people trying to stop ground from flood, so depleting the ground, then trying to dam these huge rivers in China, and then every flood event is even worse because it's even higher. Gay brown dirt soil is just a great book. There's probably loads more newer resources on YouTube now with and Gay Brown have got together and they do that don't they?
Regenerative outcomes or something like that.
Regenerative outcomes, that's it.